We've got the editor-in-chief here. Let's ask him. It can be part of the investigation. What is the purpose of High Times magazine?
Legalization of marijuana for food, fuel, and fiber.
So how have you gotten into all this trouble?
We've gotten in this trouble because we found out why marijuana is really illegal. And, I mean, the reefer madness lies have never stopped since 1930. They tell us now, oh, it'll make you paranoid, or it's got all these psychological harmful effects. The truth is, clearly, that it's much less harmful than legal drugs that are sold every
Mr.
day.
Hager, I promised you earlier that we were not going to discuss whether marijuana should be legal or not.
Let me just say this, though. We are the only source of information on this subject that bears any relationship to the truth. The American people don't know anything about marijuana. They don't know that Thomas Jefferson grew it. They don't know that all the prairie schooners across the West were covered in it. They don't know that when George Bush bailed out of his airplane that it was a marijuana parachute that saved his life. They don't know that you can make fuel for cars out of it. And we're the only source of this information.
But that's not what you're advertising, and that's not what the purpose of your magazine is. What you're doing is providing people information as to where they can get marijuana to use it illegally.
No. The primary purpose of the magazine is to educate people the truth about this plant, what it can do for our society, what it means for our environment, to get rid of petrochemicals and to use natural products like this. That's the purpose of our magazine.
Well, I've seen articles about hemp and criticism of the drug war and all those things in the New York Times and the Washington Post. Nobody's going after their advertisers or after those newspapers either. So why are they picking on High Times?
Because High Times is encouraging the consumption of marijuana. That's the bottom line.
See, Mr. Hager, I'm having trouble understanding how you defend against that.
Well, there were a lot of books that came out over the course of the last 200 years that talk about marijuana and say it's not a bad thing. Are we going to ban those books too? Are we going to burn them? We're dealing with a free speech issue here. We're engaged in a political struggle. We believe we're a repressed subculture in this society. We're being thrown in jail. 300,000 of us every year.
You have every right. You have every right to speak out.
But
you have every right to free speech.
We don't have free speech.
Advocate the legalization of marijuana. What you don't have the right to do is to advertise where people can get an illegal substance and to be a middleman in the drug trade.
Mr. Hager?
We are not a middleman in the drug trade. And we, this struggle is going to continue until marijuana is legal. And if the government thinks they can throw us all in jail and we're going to come out thinking differently, they're wrong. I mean, they could go out and shoot us all 50 million of us, but for the most part, we're white suburban people, and I don't think they could get away with it. So I just think it's time to stop wasting all of this money and building up all these intense security forces.
Wouldn't it be easier, I mean, if you would just, for instance, take the trans-market quotations, the section about where you can buy marijuana, how much it costs, and how potent it is, why don't you just take that out? That has nothing to do with whether marijuana should be legal, does it? I mean, that doesn't affect your mission as you've just described it, of talking about the virtues of marijuana?
It doesn't tell you where to get marijuana. It just tells you what the price of it is. And I have no strong feelings about that column one way or the other. I inherited that column. It was in the magazine from the very beginning. But that column is used by the DEA. It's their only reliable source on the prices of marijuana across the world.
I'm afraid that's going to have to be the last word because we are out of time. I thank you both very much, Stephen Hager, the editor-in-chief of High Times magazine, Congressman Lawrence Coughlin, Republican.